What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I've been on a bit of a hiatus from the Power Rankings videos over the last 3 weeks, and I apologize for that. But we're back in action, so let's do this. To kick off the bottom of the Power Rankings, we have the number 32 team, the Raiders. It's actually kind of crazy to think that the Raiders actually started off the season by beating the Patriots in week 1. Fast forward to week 15, and that's half their win total as they are 2-11 and on a 7-game losing streak. But speaking of teams on a 7-game losing streak, at number 31, we have the Giants. Now, just like the Raiders, this team is 2-11 and riding a 7-game losing streak. The difference is that this team has played a gauntlet of teams during that stretch and actually threatened to beat some of those teams. Moving on to number 30, we have the Cardinals. This team is 3-10 and suffering a 5-game losing streak. They are the weak link in what has been a dominant NFC West division. They appear to be done with Kyler Murray, and perhaps the head coach too, as I can see the coach being fired in the offseason and Kyler Murray being traded. Maybe a team like the Vikings take a chance on Kyler, or who knows, maybe Cleveland, since they seem hell-bent on not supporting Shedeur Sanders. Speaking of Cleveland, at number 29, we have the Browns. As always, this team is primed and ready to kick its fan base's butt instead of the opposing teams. Let's see what we have. We've got Myles Garrett having the season of his life as far as terrorizing quarterbacks go. And hell, an all-time great season if he gets to 23 sacks and breaks the single-season sack record shared by Michael Strahan and TJ Watt, which is 22.5 sacks. Garrett currently has 20 sacks and 4 games left to play in the season. I hope that he gets it. And I'll also say that it's admirable that Myles is playing this hard and this well for a team that he could have been checked out on. Dude is worth every penny that he's been getting paid, and hopefully he gets traded to a contender next season. But on to the next fucked up thing that Browns fans have to endure. There's the last game against the Titans. We've got Shedeur Sanders absolutely cooking out there. He's throwing bombs to Jerry Jeudy and connecting 4 touchdowns. He's running for a touchdown. He accumulates 364 yards passing and 3 passing touchdowns to go with a rushing touchdown. And all this while playing from behind and dealing with that adversity. All to get to a game-deciding 2-point conversion to tie and extend the game into overtime. And this nut, Kevin Stefanski, his head coach, takes Shedeur out of the game to run an ill-advised wildcat play with the game on the line. It's buffoonery at its finest. Sorry, Browns fans. I am sorry that y'all have to endure that. But enough of this rant though. The next team on the list is... At number 28, we have the Titans. Y'all beat them Cleveland bums to break a 7-game losing streak. So kudos to y'all for that. Keep grinding. More help will come in the offseason and the draft. Number 27, the Jets. So y'all are just gonna let the Dolphins beat y'all in the cold, huh? I guess y'all really yard tanking, and I ain't mad at that. Y'all got the picks, so go for it. Number 27. At number 26, we have the Commanders. Now, I don't know what this team is thinking. Y'all sent Jaden Daniels out there to get hurt again in a meaningless game against the Vikings. Didn't y'all learn from the RG3 experience? Besides, this is worse. And y'all not even in the playoffs. That ship sailed weeks ago. So moving on to the next team. At number 25, we have the Falcons. This team is just a disappointment. I can't even pin my finger on where to begin. There's been some injuries, but every team has dealt with those. Maybe it's the defense, maybe it's the way the schedule panned out. I don't know. This seems like an off-season problem, and we'll see what direction they go with when they try to adjust things then. Number 24, we have the Saints. I appreciate what y'all did to the Bucks. I really do. A shame that y'all beat us a couple of weeks ago, but y'all can make up for that by letting my Panthers win this week. As for my analysis, maybe y'all have something with the rookie quarterback Shaw, or Shuck, or I don't know, however you say his name, man. At the very least, he got heart. So moving on. At number 23, we have the Colts. Man, It was a good time while it lasted for this team. Daniel Jones was newly monikered Indiana Jones for a while there. Jonathan Taylor was the actual league MVP, and the AFC South belonged to them. But after Daniel Jones tore his Achilles in the last game and y'all flailing within a 3-game skid, it's over. I mean, y'all calling Phillip Rivers out of retirement? Nah, just let it go. Your last 4 games are against the Seahawks, the 49ers, the Jaguars, and the Texans. Y'all are cooked, so just throw in the towel. Moving on to number 22, we have the Vikings. And even though this team is 5-8, I just feel like they're not in it at all when it comes to the playoff hunt. Oh wait, they have JJ McCarthy starting at quarterback. That's why I feel that way. Look, listen, JJ. I don't care whether y'all win or lose another game, but what you can do, for me, is get the ball to Justin Jefferson. I'm trying to win my fantasy league, so you can at least help me out with that. Thanks in advance. Next team. The next team at number 21 is the Bengals. Funny thing about this team is that even though y'all are measly 4-9, y'all aren't totally cooked yet thanks to how weak the Steelers and Ravens have been this year. If y'all win out in these last 4 games, you can be 8-9 and have a shot through tiebreakers to win the division. The next game is against the Ravens though, and I don't see y'all sweeping them. And number 20, we have the Ravens. So speaking of this team, the Ravens, it's do or die now for y'all. And maybe I should have put y'all behind the Bengals. I'm looking at the rest of the schedule, and with the Bengals, Patriots, Packers, and Steelers remaining, it'd be far-fetched for y'all to do better than 2-2. And both of those 2 wins have to be against the Bengals and the Steelers to ensure that y'all don't get swept by them and automatically lose on tiebreakers. Moving on to the next team though. At number 19, we have the Dolphins. Now, we all know that this team isn't going to make the playoffs, but for the time being, they're looking the best out of the fringe teams vying for a playoff spot. They're riding a 4-game winning streak comprised of that shocking beatdown of the Bills about a month ago and taking care of the injured commies and the weak-ass Saints. Then beating the brakes off the Jets in the cold. Yes, they won a game in the cold. Amazing. They finished the season at the Steelers, home against the Bengals and Bucks, and finally at Foxborough against the Patriots. Enjoy the success while it lasts, Dolphins fans. And number 18, we have the Steelers. Now, this team took care of business by beating the Ravens and securing a hold on the division crown for now. They're a long way from taking the division for good, though, because they've been mediocre all year. They have the Dolphins next, and then at the Lions and at the Browns, which isn't necessarily a gimme game. And then they finish the season with the Ravens again, which will probably decide the division once and for all. At number 17, we have the Chiefs. After losing to both Texas teams, this team is now 6-7 and almost thoroughly out of the playoff race. When you look at their last 5 games, the Chiefs are 1-4 with the lone win coming against the Colts, who are now falling apart. Luckily, their last 4 games to finish the season gives them 2 cream puffs in the Raiders and Titans and allows them to control their own fate to an extent with divisional matchups against the Broncos and the Chargers. Speaking of which, the next matchup is indeed against the Chargers and is a must-win game. At number 16, we have the Eagles. 3 weeks ago, this team had just beaten 2 of the NFC North's top dogs in the Packers and the Lions. They showed their dominance as not only the best team in the NFC, but the best team in the league, as I had them ranked number 1 in the power rankings. Since then, the Eagles haven't won a game. It's starting to look like 2023 all over again, as this team is inconsistent on offense and battling internal demons in the locker room. There's still 4 games left to fix these problems though, and luckily, they get the pathetic Raiders next at home. After that, they have Washington twice, with the Bills sandwiched in between those games. If they get their act together, they should go no less than 3-1 in those games and pretty much put a rest to any notion of the next team in the power rankings winning their division. At number 15, that team is the Cowboys. Yeah, I know Cowboys fans. It's y'all's year again after y'all knocked off both of last team's Super Bowl participants in the Eagles and the Chiefs. All was good until last week's matchup and the Lions put belt to ass. They had some leftover Thanksgiving dessert and served y'all some humble pie. With that said, y'all have an opportunity to finish the season strong and perhaps steal the division crown and make the playoffs. Speaking of teams with the opportunity to sneak in and steal a divisional crown. At number 14, we have my team, the Panthers. This is about as good of a position I could have dreamed of looking into this season for my team. A 7-6 above 500 record with 4 games left and with total control of our destiny. We had the chance to spin the block and perform some get back on the Saints while Tampa is busy with the Falcons. And after that, we both have head-to-head matchups with each other. Excuse me. We have the Seahawks squeezed in between those matchups, but we get that game at home. If we could finish 3-1 and most importantly sweep the Bucs, my Panthers will be back in the playoffs for the first time since the 2017 season. Keep pounding. At number 13, we have the Buccaneers. Honestly, the only reason this team is still ranked this high is because they still technically hold on to the division lead. It's been a rough stretch in the last 5 weeks as the Bucs have gone 1-4 during that time. Yes, they faced the Patriots, Bills, and Rams, all formidable teams, but they barely beat the sorry Cardinals and most recently lost to the Saints. They get the Falcons next, but after that, they get the first of 2 showdowns with my Panthers. Moving on. At number 12, the Lions. After starting the season 4-1, this team has been 500 for the rest of the season thus far, never winning 2 in a row and never losing 2 in a row. Mostly, this up and down roller coaster of a season can be attributed to the difficulty of the schedule, but injuries have also played their part as well. The offensive line isn't having its best year in that department, but every team deals with injury, and the most important players have been mostly healthy, so no excuses. The Lions are firmly in the playoff hunt, even as they are currently on the outside looking in. If they can string together a couple of wins in these last few games, they could secure a playoff berth. Number 11, the Chargers. Can this team pull off the same feat that the Cowboys just did and beat the Super Bowl participants in back-to-back weeks? They've just taken care of the Eagles and have the Chiefs next. As for this matchup against the Chiefs, what more can the Chargers ask for than an opportunity to not only sweep the Chiefs, but probably deliver the final blow to their playoff hopes this year? Finally, in the top 10, and at number 10, we have the Bears. A 4-game winning streak and then a 5-game winning streak has made the Bears this year's media darlings. I have them sitting at this 10th spot in the power rankings myself. But I do feel a sense of caution with the perception of how good this team is. The schedule has mostly been soft, and their best victories have come against a mediocre Cowboys team, a mediocre Steelers team, and a floundering Eagles team. Green Bay pretty much took care of them in the last game, so the question we'll find out in these final few weeks is, can the Bears really stick with the big dogs when it comes down to playoff time and the chips are all on the table? Because after the Browns game, they get the Packers, at the 49ers, and then the Lions to finish the season. At number 9, we have the 49ers. Somehow, someway, this team is holding it together with bubblegum, duct tape, and super glue. Injuries have had dudes in and out of the lineup, mostly out, all season long. But the Niners just keep on winning. Now, some of that is due to not having the hardest of schedules, but then again, outside of the Cardinals, they are in the toughest division in NFL. In reality, it comes down to good coaching and the one player who has actually been the most consistently healthy, knock on wood, all season. And that's C-Mac. Christian McCaffrey, who is quietly having another MVP caliber season, as he's on pace to rush for over 1,000 yards, receive for over 1,000 yards, and catch over 100 passes while already having scored 13 touchdowns. So he's probably on pace for 17. Basically, he scores every game. So, C-Mac Glades aside, the Niners have a couple of easy games coming up in the Titans and the Colts. Now without Daniel Jones and with Phillip Rivers. But then they have two very interesting games in the Bears and the Seahawks to finish the season. At number 8, we have the Jaguars. This team is 5-1 in their last 6 games, with their only loss being a close one to the Texans. I'm sort of at a loss when it comes to analyzing this team. They're not particularly dominant in any aspect that I could think of or that I've seen. Maybe it's the defense, because they do allow the least rushing yards in the league. Maybe there's some advanced analytics that I'm missing. But as far as I could tell, Trevor Lawrence has been okay. The rushing attack has been pretty average. The defense gives up middle of the pack amount of points. So, I don't know. They're winning most of the games though, and that's the most important thing. At number 7, we have the Texans. Now let's talk about a team that is dominant in an aspect of the game, and that's this Texans team. Winners of their last 5 games, this team is on a roll, and it's all about one word: defense. So let's run it down. In the last 4 games, this team hasn't allowed an opponent to score 20 points. That's the Titans, Bills, Colts, and the Chiefs. In fact, they've only allowed 20 or more points in 3 games this season thus far. So obviously, they lead the league in giving up the fewest points per game. But what else? Let's see. They also give up the fewest yards per game, as they are 3rd in the league against the pass and 5th against the rush. Now let's tackle on the fact that the Texas defense is 4th in takeaways. Long story short, if CJ Stroud and the offense can get the 20, this team will beat you. Actually, 17, because they only allow 16 points per game. At number 6, we have the Bills. Now, the last time we saw this team in the power rankings, Josh Allen had put on his cape and went Superman mode on the Bucs. However, a week later, he ran into some kryptonite known as the Texans defense. It was a minor setback though. The Bills easily beat the Steelers next and then squeaked by the Bengals in a shootout. But all of that leads up to this next game, the Patriot game. Now the Patriots won the first matchup in Buffalo, and the Bills need to get their get back and show them that this is still their division, and that the Patriots are still little bro and ain't gonna be no sweeps around here. Also, even if the Patriots still end up winning the division, the Bills need to show them that they know what this level of battle feels like and that the Patriots don't. But speaking of a battle-tested team, we're in the top 5 now, and at number 5, we have the Seahawks. Now this team is 2nd in the roughest and toughest division in the league by a mere 2 points, as they have the same record as the Rams, but the Rams beat them by 2 in the earlier matchup. And the saga continues as far as the battles go. They have the Colts, which should be an easier game without Daniel Jones, but still is a playoff team. They have my Panthers, but most importantly, they have both the Rams and the 49ers. With that said, they have a chance to right some wrongs against their divisional rivals, maybe even still the number 1 seed in the NFC. Who would have thought that coming into the season? Number 4, the Rams. Now, speaking of things that I didn't think of, I didn't think that this team would be in this position at the start of the season. When I heard that Matthew Stafford was having back issues in the preseason, I wrote this team off. Old man with old back? Oh yeah, they cooked. So I thought. But apparently, the Rams medical staff must have some of that liquid from Ra's al Ghul's Lazarus pit, because Matt Stafford has been upright all season long. And not only that, he's played more like a 27-year-old MVP instead of a 37-year-old aging vet. Now with the season on the Line winding down, playoffs around the corner. The only question is, when the time comes, will Matt Stafford attain his second Super Bowl win and get the ride off in the sunset and await his gold jacket in about 5 years? At number 3, we have the Packers. Now, things were looking suspect for this team when they lost back-to-back games to the Panthers and Eagles, both in Lambeau. But then they got a warm-up game against the Giants to get their mojo back. And crucially, they used that momentum to set upon the annihilation of their division. Now that they've secured the top spot in their division, they've got their eyes set upon the conference. It won't be easy though. 3 of their final 4 games are on the road, 2 of those games being against the Broncos and the Bears. Moving on to the top 2. At number 2, we have the Patriots. Now, only 2 teams are currently coasting on 10-game winning streaks, and this is one of them. I could break down their journey like I did with many of the other teams, but fuck all that. The Patriots have the Bills next. It's time for them to take their heart by sweeping them. Drake May needs to show Josh Allen and the Bills that he's on the scene now, and he's amongst the elite quarterbacks, and that the Patriots, that the title of Big Bro, and the Patriots to show the Bills, that the title of Big Bro is about to change hands. Besides, they have to keep pace with the number 1 team in the power rankings if they want the number 1 seed in the AFC. Finally, we get to our number 1 spot in the power rankings, and at number 1, we have the Broncos. So, just like the Patriots, this team has won its last 10 straight games. On their victim list, they have the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Texans. The offense has been mediocre at best, but Bo Nix is clutch in the 4th quarter. The defense, right up there with the Texans. 2nd in rushing yards yielded, 3rd in overall yards yielded, 4th in points given up. The defense is the staple of this team, and with Bo Nix coming through in the 4th quarter, these are the ingredients that have made them, the Broncos, the number 1 team in the power rankings. And that's it for the power rankings of this week, y'all. Catch y'all in the next one. And after watching the games Sunday and Monday, oh boy, the next one is going to answer questions that I posed in this one. You could probably think of the next video as the second part of this video. Anyways, like, share, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. And definitely tune in to the next video for the results to the next week's power rankings. Catch y'all later. Peace.